Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today to share a truly historic announcement. I'm going to take a moment to say a few thank yous, and if you hold your applause, I'll go through a few people now and come back and do some more. But I'd like to really mention that we have so many representatives of so many parts of our community here today. State Representative Verla Insko is here. We have Mayor Mark Kleinschmidt. We have a number of the members of the UNC Board of Trustees, the Chair, Lowry Caudill, Haywood Cochran, Sally Shuping-Russell, Kelly Hopkins, Dwight Stone. We have our student body president, Houston Summers, here today. We have Aaron Nelson here from the Chapel Hill Chamber of Commerce. We have a number of members of the administration and Bruce Cairns, chair of the faculty. So we're welcome everybody here. I think we also have a number of representatives from our own members of the federal legislature as well. So thank you all for being with us. Yesterday, we celebrated the graduation of another amazing class of Tar Heels. We have graduates that are going out into the world today with a special energy who have just completed a very significant life milestone. And they believe, they have a deep conviction that anything is possible. Today, we share that conviction and we celebrate the possibility with a very different milestone. I am so proud to be standing here with the absolute best HIV/AIDS researchers in the world, together with the CEO of the top global pharmaceutical company, together with North Carolina's governor, to announce an exciting new partnership. It's a first-of-its-kind joint venture between UNC-Chapel Hill and the GlaxoSmithKline, creating an HIV cure center and a new company called Cura Therapeutics. It will be jointly owned and will focus on discovering a cure to HIV/AIDS. The big idea behind this venture is clear: curing HIV/AIDS, and it will require a fundamental shift in paradigm, a shift that will integrate both new research approaches and durable alliances of many partners in order to sustain the effort required for all time. And for that reason, Cura Therapeutics ownership is going to be split 50-50 between UNC-Chapel Hill and GSK. This is a highly unusual structure, but it will allow our team to actively embrace the commercialization and integrate the science, drug development, and manufacturing that will be necessary to address this cure from all angles. We think that this partnership marries the absolute best of what we do at America's leading public universities: world-class research and a deep, deep commitment to serving the public with the best of the private sector. It will be based on our campus. The HIV Cure Center and Cura Therapeutics will build on a long history of HIV/AIDS research that is already underway at Carolina and GSK. It will leverage nationally recognized clinical research capabilities and GSK's historic leadership in pharmaceutical development to allow the world's best scientists to make real progress in combating a global epidemic. Many of you know the story, but Carolina's scientists have been at the forefront of HIV/AIDS research for the last 3 decades, admitting our first patient with HIV to UNC hospitals in 1981, and conducting decades of research and clinical trials and compassionate patient care. We've become a world leader in studying and testing approaches that will allow us to prevent transmission and eradicate the infection. The partnership with GSK GSK, equally recognized in the pharmaceutical industry for its historic leadership on HIV/AIDS, will give us an opportunity to further our vision of being a 21st public global research university with its focus on discovery and entrepreneurship, while also really continuing a long-standing commitment to taking on the world's toughest challenges. Our hope is that this partnership will serve as a catalyst for attracting additional partners, attracting additional researchers and funding, and we really hope that will inspire a new generation of researchers. So I'd like you to ask me now to please join me in congratulating the team behind this interdisciplinary partnership that actually has been years in the making, including numerous individuals from the UNC School of Medicine, the UNC Eshelman School of Pharmacy, the Office of the Provost, Development, Research, University Council, Finance, and Administration. And I'll ask you to hold your applause as I call out a few individuals to really recognize their individual work. I'd like to ask first that the GSK HIV Research Unit, all members here, could you stand so we could say thank you? I know that there are many of you here. Thank you. UNC faculty from all those schools who too have been working on this partnership and this research area, including the postdocs. Many of them standing. Are there any graduate students here that have been working on these projects? Because you are our future. Oh, they're in the lab working. Oh, there's a couple of them. Thank you. And I'd also like to recognize the administrators across the integrated medical complex. I know there are a lot of you here. Could you please stand? I think they're already standing, mostly, but thank you. Now I'm going to give a few individuals' names and we'll hold our applause. But these are people who have worked on every aspect of the partnership. Lee Bollinger, Charla Edmondson Pickens, Victor Garcia Martinez, Jackie Quay, Joyce Tan, Mark Mears, David Parker, and David Ruth. They come from all spectrum of the people that have been working on this. So thank you to all of them. And in particular from GSK, I'd also like to mention Neil Curran, Andrew Spalstenstein, and Scott Lyman. And finally, they're hoping I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to give a very special thanks to individuals whose life's work and extraordinary contributions to HIV/AIDS have enabled this to happen here at Carolina, in particular, Dr. David Margolis, Dr. Mike Cohen, and Dr. Angela Kashuba, among many others. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome Sir Andrew Witty, the CEO of GlaxoSmithKline. Andrew became the Chief Executive Officer of GSK in 2008, but he's been with the company for 3 decades, leading the enterprise across the world. He's a member of the UK Prime Minister's Business Advisory Group, the Global Health Innovation Advisory Board at Imperial College London, and UK Business Ambassador Group. He also happens to be the proud father of a very recent, as of yesterday, distinguished Carolina graduate, Jack. Yes. We are so grateful for your commitment to this partnership and to UNC-Chapel Hill. We're so honored to stand with you and with GSK today.
Well, Chancellor Folt, thank you very much for that warm introduction, and thank you for really laying out exactly why today is such an exciting day. It's great to be here. Governor, thank you also for doing us the honour of joining with us today. Colleagues from GSK, thank you for making the journey out here, and also all of colleagues from UNC, particularly those who've worked for so many years in the field of HIV research. Really exciting to be with you, and thank you for giving up your time this morning. It really is an enormous pleasure to be here. But I'm not going to repeat too much of what you've just heard, but I thought I might just try and put what we're trying to embark on here into a little bit of context, both local and then slightly broader, if I could. So Cura Therapeutics, that's quite an ambitious title. By the way, it's spelled with a Q, not a C. So, but we're going to pronounce it Cura. Now, that kind of says on the tin what we hope we're going to be able to achieve. But this is not an easy challenge by any stretch. And I don't think anybody who's involved in putting this partnership together and creating this new company today really has any other view than this is a difficult mission that the teams are beginning to embark on. This is going to take years. It may take generations of scientists to achieve this. I had the great privilege of first working in the field of HIV back at the end of the 1980s, very early 1990s, just as the first treatments were beginning to surface. In fact, I was involved in the development of 3TC, an important molecule in the history of HIV drug management. But at the time I first joined, actually the majority of the conversations, beyond a few very dedicated people who believed they could make progress, the majority of the conversations were about something called opportunistic infections and the way in which opportunistic infections could be managed to try and keep patients alive for just a little bit longer before they ultimately would succumb to the disease. It is quite remarkable that just 25 years later, so much has been achieved in HIV management. I have a special honor of being a member of the United Nations Commission on HIV, which is focused and is about to issue a report calling on action for the next 20 years on HIV. And we've spent, alongside many other people who've been involved in HIV, many of them doing far more than I've ever done in this field, thinking about what should the ambition be for the next 20 years. And really bringing this disease to an end is the right ambition. It was almost undreamable back in the late 80s and early 90s, but it now feels achievable. Why? Because first of all, we have got such great treatments in place. We continue to innovate in that space, and we are making every day better for people who are living with HIV and AIDS. Secondly, technology is moving forward so rapidly on so many fronts. We should be ambitious to how we can catalyze those technologies to move forward. We've learned so much more in this period than we thought we knew 25 or 30 years ago. That's why we're setting out on this journey. But it is difficult, and I hope very much that everybody will give the teams the patient time they need to really build firm foundations of discovery. I hope the teams will be inspired by the idea that we're setting up today with a 50-50 partnership between one of the great universities in the world and one of the largest companies in the world. Inspired by the notion of openness and collaboration, of recognizing that sharing excellence from wherever it comes is more likely to create something even more special than hoarding and keeping our secrets to ourselves. And I hope that through the vehicle, the very structure and the fact that it's going to be located on this great campus can be a day-to-day reminder of everybody in there to think big and to think expansively and openly, to look for partners, to look for collaborators, to look for people and who can help advance a mission which is bigger than any single individual who's working on. Now, this is a very difficult mission that we're setting off to try and achieve. But I am incredibly encouraged when I look back in just my company at what can be done. So GSK is actually 300 years old this year in 2015. The company was founded in 1715. It's actually older than the University of North Carolina. Can you believe that? Drug company exists 300 years. Shock horror. So here we are, 300 years. How did we manage to last 300 years? You last 300 years by innovating, by hiring the best people you can possibly find, by putting them into environments which allow them to thrive, by realizing the environment which allowed that success in 1715 is probably a little different to the one you need in 2015, to look for ways in which you can release the energy of individual inventive spirit. That's how any institution lasts for 300 years or anything like that time period. During that 300 years at GSK, missions like this one have been embarked on. So over the period of the life of the company, GSK was one of the first companies to develop antibiotics. In fact, 80% of the antibiotics used by the Allies in World War II after D-Day was supplied by GSK factories in Britain. GSK has been the single biggest supplier of polio vaccine, which has allowed the world to take polio to the edge of eradication, with just a handful of holdout states still suffering from that dreadful disease. Those sorts of inventions were brought by the 6 Nobel Prize winners, who we have the honor of counting as colleagues and legacy leavers within GSK. Back in 1980, somebody who still works for the company stood up and decided that there was another mission worth trying to achieve, and that was to develop a vaccine to prevent malaria. At the time, and for most of Joe Cohen's life, I think he was regarded as a contrarian and a guy who was dreaming a dream that could never be achieved. How could you possibly vaccinate against a vector-borne parasite disease? And yet, last year, thanks to his work and thousands of employees across the company's work since the very early 1980s, in great collaboration with a variety of academic institutions and others, including NIH, CDC, and other important organizations, the company was able to file for approval the world's first candidate vaccine for malaria. Later this year, we expect that vaccine to be approved, and we've promised that we will make that vaccine available to those who need it in the poorest countries in the world at a not-for-profit price. This company will have spent $500 million on that mission. It will have spent over 30 years on that mission, and it will make no money from that mission, but it will succeed. And that's really... And that's the spirit that I believe great companies embody. It's the spirit that great institutions like this university embody. And it's the spirit that I hope can inspire the people who work within Cura Therapeutics on the tough days when the experiment doesn't go well to get back up and have another go. And on the days when people are telling you your hypothesis is nuts, remember there's no such thing as a completely objective scientist. Every scientist is subjectively biased toward their own hypothesis, whatever they tell you. Just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you have to work hard to prove you're right. And in the history of this company, in the history of UNC, we can look back and see a remarkable array of individuals, men and women, scientists, who have been able to demonstrate through their hard work, their ingenuity, that they were right. And for that, the world has been a much better place for the contribution of both organizations. It is with great pleasure that I've had the opportunity to come here and share this platform with the Chancellor, with the Governor, to wish everybody well on the inauguration of this new company. We look forward to seeing progress. We know it's going to be difficult. We know it's going to take time, but this is another mission we should embark on, believing we're going to make it, because it will be so important to the millions of people around the world who rely on people like you to do work like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are so honored to be a part of this partnership. And now it's my privilege to introduce the Governor of North Carolina, Pat McCrory. In December, Governor McCrory joined us here in Chapel Hill for another important event. That was the announcement of Dr. Fred Eshelman's $100 million commitment to Carolina. We'd like you to come visit, because great things seem to happen every time he visits us here. And we're also standing in this beautiful building that was built by the state of North Carolina to further the partnerships exactly as you discussed just a minute ago, Andrew, ones that will bring great advances for society built on these partnerships that happen in our state. We couldn't have a stronger champion for the relationship between building out our research to drive economic growth and develop strong research activities in the areas of human health than Governor McCrory. And so we look forward very much working with him in this in the coming years. So thank you so much, Governor McCrory, for joining us here.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. He was talking about scientists not always agreeing with each other. I've learned since I've moved to Raleigh, not all political scientists agree with each other either. This is a great day for North Carolina. This is the best of North Carolina, and this is the best of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill also. And in fact, I'd like the trustees of the school to please stand up. We want to thank you for your work. Y'all give them a round of applause. Thank y'all very much. You know, I wish Secretary of Health and Human Services, Aldona Voss, was here. Because in the 1980s, she was a young new doctor in New York City. And it was kind of ironic, she came from Poland, where her parents were survivors of the German concentration camps. And her family had seen the worst of humanity. And that, when she was a new young doctor in New York City, this epidemic called AIDS came. This disease called AIDS just spread throughout the city and the nation and the world like no one had ever seen before. And people were scared. People were paranoid. People were unsure what to do. People kept quiet. People were at a loss of where we're going to move. But because of the private and public sector, and because of scientists coming together, and because of doctors of medicine, tremendous progress has come to this country and to this world since the 1980s, when we were literally losing thousands upon thousands of people with no warning, with no idea on what the solution or the cure was going to be. And now to even have the concept of a total cure at our fingertips being talked about so few years later, since the 1980s, is quite an accomplishment to all the incredible people that study this issue, and the level of expertise that they have is second to none. And to have this partnership, we believe partnerships is the way to solve the problems of the world and the country and of the state. If we don't work together and combine all the different brains, we will not solve the problems that are so complex in today's world. And this is the perfect example of partnerships between two countries, between a university and the state and the private sector, and between this brilliant new students who are coming to this great university to help find a long-term cure. And working together with the hospitals and the doctors and the nurses who are dealing with this issue every single day. The vision for a solution is something that I don't think people were even considering a short time ago in the 1980s. So Dr. Aldona Voss will be very, very pleased to hear about this. We are saving lives, we'll be creating jobs, and in the long run, we'll be saving a lot of money for families and for the taxpayers of North Carolina and of this country. So that money that can be then directed to other needs that we have in this country. And that's good news. This partnership merges the strengths of the academic and corporate worlds in the cases of expertise of two of the world's leaders in HIV/AIDS research to create the critical mass that will lead to a cure. GSK will contribute its experience in medicine's discovery, development, and manufacturing, while UNC-Chapel Hill will contribute its research and translational medicine capabilities, talent, and access to patients and funding. Cura Therapeutics will convert much of UNC-Chapel Hill's groundbreaking HIV/AIDS research to a clinical application that will benefit the people and the economy of North Carolina. This fulfills our vision which we've been working on. And I'll tell you, your chancellor, she needs to be more dynamic. I just need to let you know. No, she needs a little more passion. She has been to the executive mansion many times, and I've been here many times. And we've been also working together with NC State and Duke and Wake Forest and other medical research teams in this state. And we've realized that we have to work in partnership, because our vision together is to be a part of what we call the National Innovation Triangle. Because right now, most people think all the innovation comes out of the Silicon Valley, or they think it comes out of Boston and New York. Well, I was in California last week at the Milken Conference, which is a wonderful conference to find money to help cure Alzheimer's and cancer and AIDS. And I presented them the facts that we are working together, all these universities and the hospitals working together, to have North Carolina be the third part of that vertex of a national innovation triangle, and a better choice, which is going to be more economically conducive to scientists and to doctors and to researchers who can come here at a lower cost and a heck of a lot better quality of life, and have this be another choice of that national innovation triangle. And this announcement today helps make that happen. So the best of the best, the brightest of the brightest, won't always go to the Silicon Valley or to Boston, New York. They come right here to the capital of the research area, and that's Chapel Hill. And this helps build that case. And we've had some great announcements during the past several months to continue to sell that and market that concept. And we're not doing it just to create new jobs and create better quality life. The long-term result is to save lives. And I just want to thank our private and public sector partners for working together. This is the best of North Carolina. Thank you, and God bless each one of you.
Governor, thank you very much for those encouraging words and for the support of the state. There's no doubt, having been a resident of the state for many years now, over 30 years, GSK is always going to be up there front and center to advertise this great state for you. For those of you who don't know, there's a building across the street here, just the molecular biology building. That was actually GSK's very first building in North Carolina. And it's great to be making this announcement, looking out on something that was built so long ago, but actually presaged what was coming. So thank you very much, Governor. You know, this is a great session here today, and I don't know if you noticed the phenomenal decorations. I'm colorblind, but I'm told that the flowers are UNC blue and GSK orange, so I'm incredibly impressed by the attention to detail that people have gone to. You know, I'm sure it looks amazing in color. And my point simply is that tomorrow the flowers and all of this won't be here. But the work will have to begin, and it now gives me a very special honor to introduce one of the people who will be doing the work when all of the hula's moved on and it's time to get down to work on a daily basis, and that's Dr. David Margolis, a professor of medicine here at UNC. David, please come and speak to us. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Andrew, and that's a very apt introduction because that's exactly what is on my mind. I'm really privileged to be here in this room looking out at all the many people that I've worked with for the last 10 years since I came to UNC, and even people in industry that I've worked with even longer before I came to UNC. I have only a few additional sort of perspectives to add to what's already been said. I think this is a very big day, but it's our beginning. And tomorrow we do get to work. The mountain is pretty steep, but we have a task ahead. And it's, I think, inspiring, again, to have lived our careers through the AIDS epidemic has been described. And for a lot of us here at UNC who take care of patients and see patients, we still remember that the problem is not solved, that we need therapies that can eradicate infection, But even that is only a piece of the larger puzzle that we need to grapple with: finding patients with infection, preventing spread of infection, treating infection, and then curing infection. But I think the remarkable thing is that partnerships like this give us all the tools that we need to accomplish those goals. And so I'm not sure when it will happen. People always seem to want to know when, but I'm sure that we can get there together. And I think the together part is another very important thing to recognize: the really great synergy of all the resources and the people and the schools. This is a partnership not just between UNC and GSK, but within UNC, with very important contributions and partnerships between the School of Pharmacy, School of Medicine, and other parts of the institution. And I think our history is that these are the things that have been successful, as Andrew described, in finding the best, taking the leads, and making the breakthroughs that we need to find. So I just don't have really much more to say. I think it's time to get to work. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, David. Don't go quite to work yet, though. A few more minutes of celebration. You really are such an inspiration to so many of us, and we're so happy that you're working here on this project. And now it's my special privilege to introduce another person who is going to make this so successful, and this is Dr. Zi Hong. Dr. Zi is the head of the infectious disease therapy unit at GSK. And he is responsible for designing and delivering the end-to-end research and development strategy pipeline for this. And whenever you meet him, you will find another person like David who is so deeply, deeply committed to doing this and getting it right and developing a way that we can have this strong partnership. He brings more than 20 years of experience in drug discovery and product development, and he's led many teams who have really brought to close more than 30 compounds into development. This is the area that he is deeply committed to seeing through. We're very excited to have him. We hope by September he will, and others will be actually in the building, but he tells me that he bought a bike and he can be here in minutes. He's ready, and already they've all been working together very well. He's a true public health advocate, and we are so honored and privileged to welcome him here today. Thank you.
Good morning. 3 years ago, we asked a simple question: how can we best our chance to find a cure for HIV sooner? I think the answer to that question led to a mission that resonates among many scientists in this room. By working together, we believe we can accelerate the search of a cure for people living with HIV. And by working together, we seek to build the critical mass of talent and resources. And by working together, we bring forward an integrated discovery, development, and delivery capability. So why should we work together to find a cure for HIV? I think the Chancellor mentioned that the scientific challenge is extraordinary. I think the global public health implication is enormously profound. In the last 3 years, many key leading scientists and key stakeholders in the HIV cure community have had many discussions, talk about how we can work together to tackle these public health issues. And we all believe, they all agree, there's no one person, no one university, no one company, not even one country can do this alone. So we must work together. We must create a new R&D model that allows maximally collaborative way of working. So I'm very happy that today's announcement for this new partnership is a small step forward, and that literally turned that rhetoric into action. And I really think and hope that this partnership will shed a shining light in the scientific community that bring more scientists from all over the world working together. So why we're so excited about this partnership between UNC and GSK? I think the Chancellor mentioned the word marry well. I also think this partnership, I can compare that to a marriage of two incredible legacy that dated back 3 decades earlier to the 80s. I can tell you from the GSK side, we were the first company to bring the first HIV medicine to patient to approval. In the ensuing 30 years, we delivered a total of 6 new chemical entities and 4 fixed-dose combination of HIV medicine to patient. And we continue to invest in developing new antiretroviral therapy through healthcare, ViiV Healthcare, which is a joint venture, 100% dedicated in finding new novel antiretroviral therapies. We also start investing in HIV prevention and cure. The Chancellor mentioned about the legacy from UNC, and I've seen that in the last 3 decades. You have built one of the top research teams in the world, with more than 100 investigators from basic research to clinical research, to scientists in the pharmacy school and scientists in the School of Public Health. You've done a lot of wonderful things for patients and helping a lot of us in developing medicine to patients. And we are talking about working together to find a new treatment modality for HIV prevention. There's another angle of this marriage that will bring 2 very different cultures together. From the cutting edge science and scientists with incredible individual drive to a highly experienced teamship, industry scientists and experts. So it's my hope that we can somehow bring out the best attribute of each organization and create a winning team, and frankly, a dream team in our backyards right here in North Carolina. There's no question in my mind that the road ahead of us will be long. The challenges are many. For every 10 steps forward, we're probably going to have some setback and perhaps 9 steps back. But we must focus on that positive momentum that will bring us ever closer to our final goal. That is to cure all HIV, all patients living with HIV. Finally, I want to thank 3 individuals. The Chancellor, Carol Folt, Patrick Valens, who is our President of the Pharmaceutical R&D at GSK, and our CEO, Sir Andrew Witty, for their believing in us, sharing our vision, and more importantly, I want to acknowledge their effort to create a more openly innovative environment addressing some of the most pressing public health issues. Because if we can do that successfully, our patient will benefit. If our patient benefit, it will be good for UNC, it will be good for GSK. So I thank you for your time.
We've heard a lot of conversation today about Cura Therapeutics, about Cure, about public and private partnerships, about finding a new model for doing this type of research, about building on a legacy with our slightly older partner. But I want to end by saying this is actually really serious business. Nobody talks about cures without really thinking about it in a very serious way. Cure science is different than other science. It means something. Just to put that out there means that you're determined to do it. And I think people that work on cure science research truly do go to sleep every night waking up the next morning with a different feeling of urgency and pressing on their shoulders. And we appreciate that. That's what it takes. And so this celebration, I think, will carry people when they're waking up again, realizing how much people mean it, but it's serious business. It's entered into with 100% commitment, and it's just wonderful to be on the podium with people that are dedicated to it and have that support. So we're happy to have all of you here today. You're all going to be partners in keeping this amazing team going forward as we really do push for the cure to HIV/AIDS. Thank you so much for being here with us today.